is Margarita Krisaki, and I'm delighted to welcome you to the 9th webinar on education and training in the space sector. This is a series of webinars organized by Nereus. Usually I share a presentation at the beginning to showcase the education training activities of Nereus, but this time we have luckily a big and diverse audience of space women, so I will skip the presentation of Nereus. I will just say that Nereus, it's a regional network. We represent regions using space technologies. We highlight the interests of regions to the European institutions and the benefits of space technologies to regions and citizens. And of course, we encourage their use. As you all know, today's webinar is focused on how education, training opportunities, but also mentorship programs can encourage women, can empower women to join and work for the space sector. For this reason, I have invited really leading space women from all sectors to share with us their tips, secrets, what is the recipe of success in the space sector. We know that women are underrepresented in the space sector, and we want to hear their views, how they succeeded and how they've done it so far. Today, as you can see, I'm not alone. I'm very happy to have Maddalena with me. We are a duo. Maddalena is a trainee from the Veneto region, and she supported us with the organization of Copernicus for Regions, one of the biggest space events organized by Nereus. Maybe, Maddalena, you can say a few words to the audience.
Hi, everybody. As Margarita already said, Maddalena Tovio, a trainee from Veneto region office here in Brussels, and I'm happy today to assist Margarita to this webinar and to briefly talk about my experience in Copernicus for Regions.
Thank you, Maddalena. We are happy to have you here with us today. Also, a technical note from my side. Please mute yourself if you are not a speaker. This is to ensure a good acoustic as the webinar is being recorded. And we move very quickly to our first speaker. I would like to welcome Professor Sarah Batu. She is the Deputy Institute Director of Nuclear Medical Applications at the Belgian Nuclear Research Center and a professor in the universities of KU Leuven and Ghent. I was privileged to have Sarah as my professor on a very fantastic course. Well, she made it fantastic, to be honest, space biology in KU Leuven. And I was lucky also to witness at that time her preparation for the mission to the Princess Elizabeth Antarctica Research Station for her space research. But Sarah, I leave the floor to you. You share more things with us. What we are interested to know today, because we have also young women joining us, it's to learn more about your activities as a space women in leadership. Maybe some current training programs that you advise young women to look on that, and successful tips that you might share with us. So I will start by sharing your presentation, and we are all ears.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Margarita. It was really a pleasure to have you as a student at the time, but also to see to follow your career path since you performed this advanced master at KU Leuven in Belgium. So thank you also very much for the invitation to join today this presentation. I will try to also share with you some of my background, but also some tips for you that I hope will help to have another perspective and to progress in your career. Can I have the next slide, please, Margarita? If possible, the next slide.
Yes, just give us a moment. Maybe. Okay. This is the next, or we moved a lot?
Voilà, that's the right. So
Yeah.
just a few words. My background is biologist. I've studied biology at the Catholic University of Louvain in Belgium, and then I did a PhD in the field of oncology, so cancer biology. So this is a little bit explains a little bit my background. And then I joined SCKCEN, which is the Belgian Nuclear Research Center in Mol in Belgium. And there we do quite a lot of, at the time when I joined, we didn't do that much of space research, but we gradually increased our space research. And at the day of today, so we are really performing a lot of research to prepare future missions to the moon, to Mars, and that goes without saying that there are quite a lot of aspects that need to be taken into account, health aspects, and that's also what I'm teaching at the Catholic University of Leuven, but it's also at the Ghent University in Belgium. So what is the impact of space conditions on health? So we look at different aspects, not only the human body of an astronaut himself or herself, but also radiation, because we are a nuclear research center, a dedicated research institute for that. We are a foundation of public utility, so recognized by the government of Belgium as with societal impact of our research and for the benefit of the community and of the society. So what are the aspects that we are looking at? We are, as a nuclear research center, mainly looking at radiation impact. So what is the impact of radiation on human health, but also on instruments, on how can we monitor the dose. So we have a very strong group of dosimetry doing performing dose measurements inside the International Space Station, but also within the Artemis program. How can we shelter from radiation? How can we produce oxygen, water, and food through life support research? So we also have a strong dedicated group in microbiology looking at this specific item and thematic of research. And radiobiology looks at how we can make astronauts stay healthy and have a productive mission, taking into account the sensitivity and the impact of cosmic radiation. Can I have another slide? The next slide, please.
Yes, give me one moment because it's a bit slow. Now it's okay. Can you see
Yes.
it?
Yes. So maybe a few words about why did I where is my passion? In fact, I've always been fascinated by understanding and curing diseases from a very, very early age, as far as I remember, when I was very young. And so I was very interested and intrigued about how the body could change and then how a disease could start to process. And in space, the what is really fascinating is that basically the combination of space stressors, radiation, but also microgravity or weightlessness, and other stressors, lunar dust, mental and psychological stresses, all that have an impact and major impact on health and on different systems of the body. So that's really the human body is really challenged in space. And this type of research, because I'm a researcher by training, give a very strong sense of purpose of what you are doing for improving quality of life on Earth, for improving healthcare in space, but also on Earth. And that's something I'm really enjoying, being able to do something that has a meaning that can improve and change life of people, of astronauts, but also of patients. As a researcher also, I'm very interested in using my creativity to develop new research ideas to push forward the frontiers of knowledge and develop new tools, new protocols that will help healthcare, that will help astronauts to reach and to have a productive mission to the moon and to Mars. of course, the advantage also of being able to work in research and in the space sector in particular allows to connect with different environments, with different industrial partners, but also different researchers of different topics, not necessarily in my specific space topic of health. It's a very strong community. The space community is a very strong community from different countries. There is really, I experienced that even more than in the medical field, that it's really, people are really passionate about the field and very, and like to connect. And that's really something specific to the space sector. But also, yeah, in my particular case, I really love teaching. I love coaching students, mentoring younger professionals, and especially women, and help them, push them to even perform better, to overcome their fear, overcome the boundaries. So that's something I really like to devote some of my time. And also as a researcher, I have a strong interest in that the research that is performed is known by the community and is useful. So I like, if I can publish the results, that they can be useful in the healthcare system, but also for space. But also I had to learn as a researcher to protect some of the aspects of the research, because not everything can be published to the whole community. So these dual aspects is also sometimes a little bit difficult for a researcher to accept, to understand these publishing or protecting your research. And also as a researcher, we need to be critical and remain critical. And I really like all the aspects of the research, because in the space sector you can have it all. You can really experience these aspects and be happy to use them on everyday life. Can I have the next slide? I just would like to share also with you some quickly some other aspects that I find important in the space sectors. How to promote diversity, inclusion, mentorship, and networking. I would like also to explain a little bit what I see from my side and from ESA and EU, how the ongoing efforts to bridge gender gaps and to promote equal representation, and then a short speech on potential impact of gender-related health issues when working in the space sector. Yes, next slide, please. So in the field of in the space sector, there is really an importance, and this type of initiatives that we are having today. Thank you, Margarita, again for fostering this type of brainstorming and discussion. This is really essential to continue to discuss openly how we can help, how to promote this diversity, this inclusion, diversity, gender diversity, but not only, it's really above that, and how we can help supporting the young professionals and mentor them the best. So this type of platform that we have today is essential, is one of the initiatives that are really paying at long term for the female community also to be better help supported and to network the best. There are in the space sector, I think there are really a lot of initiatives and programs that are aiming at encouraging women to enter and thrive in the field. That are local, regional, like a little bit like this initiative, but that are also national. I think all countries have got some space societies, and some countries have got women space societies, not all of them. Then there are the European Space Society. I'm also very, I would like also to say a few words about the European Space Agency, because there, when you look, I know that the ESA website is not always so easy to find information, but there is really, it's really a golden mine of information. If you look, you have the young graduate trainee program, you have various kind of summer schools, courses that are given. So really, I would encourage the professionals, if you're interested in this field, to really look and spend some time on the ESA website. So different types of associations exist. European level, but also national level. And so I would really like to stimulate everyone interested in looking at what are the different platforms that are currently existing. It's really incredible, the number of platforms. So there are local, international conferences also. I'm really amazed. And the space sector is a sector where there is never any ending of the number of webinars, seminars that are taking place, and very often for free. So really look at that, look at people that are joining that, contact them. There are really a lot of online communities, so I would like to invite you to look on Facebook in the field of space, in the field of the space sector, on LinkedIn, and there are a lot of grants and scholarships, and very often that's not looked at so much, but there is really a lot going on and available. If you want some more precise advice, just contact me, please. But um, next slide, please. So I just would like to mention also that it's important that we are living in also in a very changing world, and if you look at the European level, at the European Commission presidency, gender equality has been nominated as a major theme and objective for the European Commission president. There is a gender equality strategy that has been put in place to address gender gaps and to promote gender equality in all areas of life. So this is also important, that things are changing, and specifically in the EU framework, the Horizon Europe framework, now we have to have a gender equality plan. So if you want to apply for grants, companies or research centers, research institute like SCKCEN in Belgium need to have this gender equality plan in place. And this is also very good. So there are quite a lot of bodies that are following, monitoring, and promoting equality in Europe, and that's really good sign, because things are really changing. And then at the level of the European Parliament, there is a standing committee on women's rights and gender equality. So I think these things didn't really very much exist 10, 15 years ago, and it's good that they are now put in place. Next slide, please. Okay, so then more specifically about health issues are more close to my knowledge and my practices as a researcher in the field of health and healthcare, and also as a researcher in the field of radiation. So there are also, when you look at gender-specific medicine, when you look at how therapy is implemented, or like medicines are checked, clinical trials are performed. Very often, clinical trials are performed on males, and there is still a gender gap of knowledge. It's not only for medicine, but it's also, as we know, for astronauts. We are looking at the next generation of astronauts going to the moon and to Mars, but there is really a gap of knowledge on what are the impact of space stresses on human health for female astronauts. We don't have that many data, and so this gender gap of knowledge and of health knowledge is still remaining, and that's really something that we need to pay attention to, and to develop also the necessary framework to try to bridge this gender gap. WHO has also put as a Sustainable Development Goal 3, ensuring health and well-being for all at all ages, which means also women, men, but also girls, boys, and gender diverse people. So it's important to keep that in mind and to continue to foster and to stimulate that. To keep that also in mind in training, education, in reporting and support, in research, as mentioned, and data collection, especially in the medical field. There is still a need for more data collection on female patients. To address these points is can contribute really to a safer and a more equitable work environment when working in the space sector. So And then if I may finish with another slide and my final slide, because we don't have that much time and we would like to dedicate some time for the discussion, as certain tips that I would like to give, especially for the young professionals amongst you. Look for good mentors, for good supervisors that can advise you wisely. So take the time, interview some potential mentors you would like to work with, and select depending on that. Don't go to the first one that tells you, yes, I agree to be your supervisor. Don't and never be afraid of contacting people through LinkedIn, through per email, and ask for advice, ask for feedback. Don't stay in your bubble and don't be shy. This is what the main tip I would give to any of my students, but anyone. Don't just connect. Make publicity for yourself. Use the network that you have in place. We have LinkedIn. Create a LinkedIn profile if you don't have one. Connect through that. Use ResearchGate. Use Google Scholar. There are quite a lot of platform and use them to be kind of more visible. This is very important. Participate and try as much as possible to participate in competition for prizes, for grants, for any type of possibilities. I remember when Margarita was a student, she applied making a short film about for I think
my
for a
God.
drink company.
Yes,
I
yes.
remember, and
We,
about
yeah,
space, and you made such a beautiful film
yeah.
and beautiful story. And just try to participate in that different types of competition. Also, what I would say as a tip, don't go for the extra mile when you receive a task. Just don't do the bare minimum, but just do the extra mile, and do give a good quality of a task that you have to do. Try to organize your day, your weeks, to not start at the last minute. And then I think another important tip that certainly for myself, um, to be able to avoid procrastination. And procrastination is really to put to tomorrow tasks that can be delayed. Is really you need to really understand why you delay these tasks. And very often it can be linked to your fear of thinking you are not good enough or you are not going to perform well enough. And try to understand your fears, and the earlier you learn your fear, the better you are to overcome these fears, because very often, yeah, procrastination is somehow a deep fear in something, and that's also something to work on. And especially as females, as women, we probably have more fears than average men, I would say. Care for others and for your team. Be a team player is also very important. Give to others, and you will give. They will give you back, and that's also something I learned from my whole career. So that these are the tips, messages that I wanted to convey to you and to share with you. And thank you again for being here today. And I'm really open for a discussion later on today.
Thank you very, very much, Sarah, for this well-prepared information and practical information also. I really loved the last slide with the tips and recommendations for young space women, but not only young, for every person that actually wants to progress in the sector. I just have one question from my side.
Okay.
You are a professor, and I would like to make a more concrete question on the role of universities here. How the academia can promote and support women in pursuing careers and leadership roles in space-related fields. What they can do more. Maybe you can say something for the Belgian universities. If you have experience in other universities, it would be nice. But
I can say that in a very positive way. First, that old female students are usually very good. They are they they are a little bit more uncertain than male students in general, so they kind of would devote and work harder to achieve. So very often they underestimate themselves, I would say, in general. But I'm very happy to see that they all succeed pretty well. They find a job, they are competent, but they need a little bit of pushing to there a little bit to the. And I think what I take also some time also to mentor them, to just that they have a little bit more confidence in themselves. But then of course we have the issue of family, having children. This has some impact on our career path. And universities are kind of adapting, but adapting, so that it's getting better and better. And also but that's really different from countries to countries. If you look at in Scandinavia, for example, fathers can take up to 2 years to take care for the children, and sometimes even obliged, kind of, or that needs to be shared with mother and father and so on. So they are quite further. In Belgium, it's improving, especially over the past 15 years. The situation is much more improving, but still we are not there to completely yet. We can still improve. But I would say, in general, when competing, because I'm in quite a lot of audits and juries, and it's female candidates are performing very, very well, and very often better. And we see it in also the astronaut selection, the last astronaut selection at ESA. There were less women, about 22%, I think, of women. But at the end, in the last round, they were counting for 50% of the last round of the latest selected astronauts. So they perform very well. So yes, but indeed, the situation and conditions are getting better and better, but still we need to continue paying attention to that.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Thank you for your valuable feedback. Please stay with us for the discussion.
Okay.
Now I would like to give the floor to our next speaker. We have, as I explained at the beginning, we have a diverse panel. We had Sarah representing the academia. We have from the private sector, we will have from the public sector, and now we will have a guest speaker from the international sector. Ms. Veronica Cesco, she comes from the United Nations. She's an associate program officer for the United Nations Outer Affairs Space Office. And of course, she is the coordinator of the Space for Women initiative, which I had the honor and the pleasure to be selected as a mentor for 2023. Veronica, we would like to hear more about this mentoring program. So how it started, more about its activities and its outcomes. And of course, about you. So the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Margarita, and it's great to be here. Thank you for sharing the invitation to participate in this event. Indeed, I work at the UN Office for Outer Space Affairs. I've been here for almost, actually, already 5 years, and a couple of years ago, I started managing the Space for Women program. Just a sentence on the office. This UN office promotes international cooperation in the use of space technologies for sustainable development, and we have a lot of different activities. Gender equality as part of the Sustainable Development Goals at the United Nations is, of course, like one of our core mandates, and we know as here. Is it okay, the audio? Can you hear me well?
It comes and goes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just stop me in case it's really not clear. I could maybe change.
Now it's better. Now it's better. But if you can also, if you have a headset, that would be, I think it would be better.
I don't have it hand actually. Is
Now
it
it's
still...
good.
Now it's working.
Now it works.
Okay, just stop me in any case if you have problems, if I have any problems with the device. So as I was saying, gender equality is a core element at the United Nations, a core mandate, and women, as we discussed, are underrepresented in the sector. Looking just at the astronauts, like only 11% of women have been astronauts. So like among all the people who travel to space, we have only 11% of women. When it comes to the work that we do as Space for Women, allow me just, I don't have a big presentation, just wanted to share my screen over here. So the Space for Women program is a program that officially started, the first discussion started in 2017, and we had the first expert meeting where we gathered a few people working, primarily women working in the space sector, trying to get an understanding of their challenges and the measures that at UN level we could take to advance STEM, like gender equality in STEM and the space sector. And out of that meeting, we had a lot of recommendations. One of the recommendations was the creation of this mentorship program. And so in 2020, we launched the first edition of the mentorship program. And this year we had the third edition of the mentorship program, which has grown in the past 3 years quite substantially. Space for Women really aims to advance gender equality in the space and STEM sectors, and we really want to facilitate access to career and education in these specific sectors. The program also aims to ensure that women and girls can benefit from space solutions, but at the same time contribute to those solutions. With the mentorship, we went from 35 to 56 to 94 mentors this year, and overall we had almost 250 participants. This is actually just a picture of our online events. Unfortunately, we could have only virtual events. But overall, we had 250 people, and 100, like roughly out of these 150 were mentees coming from more than 65 countries, and with all global, like all regions represented. So really a wide global representation. What we did after the matching of the mentors and the mentees, and here our mentors really come from a different backgrounds. We have like really scientific mentors that are focusing, like, could be astronomy, sciences, but we also have policymakers, space law experts. So it's really wide, and we opened last year the call for mentors. We had a lot of applicants, but of course, because of like capacity limitations, we had to have a relatively much lower number of mentors. The mentees applied, and then we launched the project in January. Throughout the year, we had several online events trying to make sure that there was also the sense of building a network and a community, so that mentors could explain to the mentees the work that they were doing, giving the opportunities to all of them to connect through networking sessions. So we had these type of activities, but I think the most important was the bilateral meetings that mentors and mentees had with each others. And as the program is concluding now, we just did an evaluation, and we had an excellent feedback. And I was really looking at the impact of the program, and as described especially by many mentees, the help that they received from their mentors was related to discussing what to do next in their career or in their studies. And so trying to understand what was going to be best for them. Should I do a PhD? Should I look for an internship? But it wasn't just for younger mentees. We also have already women advanced in their careers that were actually seeking more support from mentors who had more expertise in the area. So it was very wide. And other elements that mentors and mentees discussed was really some concrete stuff, like how do I prepare my CV, how do I prepare my application, but also how do I face this specific situation in the office where I'm trying to get a promotion. So really guidance on several topics. And here I just like to underline a story, like one of the stories that we had. We had two women. Omowumi from Nigeria, she was paired with a mentee from Nigeria as well, Adesola. And they started their mentorship relationship when Adesola was doubting, like she didn't know what to do after her master's degree. And thanks to Wumi's support, they were actually able to develop a research proposal for a PhD. She applied for a few PhD positions, and she finally got a PhD in the UK. And she moved to the UK to do her PhD. But in the meantime, she's also been working with Omowumi, writing research papers. And publishing, they published together 2 papers on journals where they were explaining how specific space technology was supporting floods management and disaster risk reduction. So this is actually how the relationship evolved and the impact of their relationship. But we also had other examples. Amber from the US, she's working at NASA as advisor on international cooperation, so things related to the Artemis Accords. And she was previously working in a different sector. And because she was moved to NASA, she said, okay, I need to learn more. And she was thus paired with a space lawyer from the Kenyan Space Agency. And I actually met randomly Amber when I was in the US at NASA. I didn't remember all the participants. And she was like, oh, I'm a mentee. I was like, wow, that's amazing. And she told me that John, this space lawyer from the Kenyan Space Agency, was amazing because she really helped her navigate an environment that she didn't know that much. So really building this connection, I think, was, and getting all this advice and guidance was really what was at the heart of the mentorship program. So when it comes to the mentorship program, these are, I think, really having that network, having access to a mentor is really important. And as it was said before, seeking for a mentor, asking for advice, don't be shy, is extremely important, because I know how difficult it is, and I'm the first one to be in that position to ask for help sometimes, but that's how you actually grow and can learn from others. And sometimes you got to make some mistakes to learn, but other times it's just easier if you can learn what to do and not to do from other people. Besides the mentorship program, Space for Women is also focused on other activities. We have these expert meetings annually where we gather participants working in the space sector with expertise in gender equality. Normally we have, of course, presentations and discussions about specific measures, not just how to advance women in the space sector and promote gender equality, but really working on developing specific tools. And maybe one that is worth mentioning is, and that is actually the work of the United Nations on this topic, is the preparation of this toolkit for organizations to implement measures that promote gender equality in their own organizations. Because one thing that is important to consider, and this is also something that maybe will be addressed later, is that as women we can do things to improve our situation, to make sure we are in a better position to enter and remain in the sector, because often that's also one of the problems. But we also need systemic change, and that is at organizational level. We also have capacity building projects, and we recently had a few all-female teams of young girls, like in their 15, 17, winning this capacity building opportunity and conducting and building their first satellite. So different activities that we do at UN level, at UNUSA, but also at UN level. There's much more that I could be saying, but I'm running out of time. I ran out of time, so I'll just, Margherita, I'll give you back the
We'll
floor.
keep you for the discussion, Veronica.
Exactly.
Thank you very much for this great presentation. A small note from my side, it has been a great experience from a personal point of view, working with you, with the UN team organizing the Space for Women initiative. Thankfully, my two mentees managed to join today, so they will share a few words about it later on. Veronica, I will come back to you with a question. However, now I would like to do a small pause for our audience and to ask for questions. By now, we have heard the presentation by Sarah and from Veronica as well. Are there any questions from the audience or from other speakers? I will give you some time to think a question. I would like to ask Veronica and Sarah a more concrete question. From your point of view, what are the challenges nowadays that might discourage women from seeking leadership positions in the space sector? And I highlight the word leading because everybody's working today. It's not like we are in the 19th century. All women are working today, but the thing is that the concrete challenges that might discourage women from taking a leading position. Sometimes it's not their decision also, but I would like really to discuss on that for a moment. You can take the floor, Sarah or Veronica, you can decide.
What can I say is that what I can say is that I noticed definitely we overcome the COVID period in 2020, 2021. That was certainly not easy for students, for families, for parents who had children, but for the children as well to have a kind of normal education. I think if you ask me from a kind of academic point of view, we are still not completely out of that period. We are better and better now, but that was a difficult period of lack of sociability and connection. It was quite difficult. There again, if I am not mistaken, what I read from reports was that women in general, because of their interest in communicating, came out better in terms of mental shape, mental health than the male students in general. So that's something I'd like to convey, because of the ability and the sociability and general sociability of women. But it had a complete first change of our mentality and culture, because it changed the COVID period changed completely the society in terms of involvement also of what people are ready to do for their work, and how ready are they to to be involved in their work and to take and to do the extra mile. I think there was a big reflection that is still going on, and from an academic point of view, as a prof, I notice really a big impact on the students, on how they the motivation to learn, but also the intellectual capacity to kind of study, to remember by heart, or to work hard in terms of learning. And so now it's getting much better. But what we learned, I think, we learn new things which are quite good in terms of how to get the students more engaged and to keep them engaged. So we really had to be creative in the way we were teaching. Because it was really hard to keep the attention. But we noticed that also during webinars that people was difficult to keep the attention of the audience, and the same for students who had sometimes to go for 8 hours of online courses per day. So but what I notice also is that very often it's an intrinsic motivation that you need to develop yourself, or that you have intrinsically yourself for working hard. Because of course you there is nothing to stop you to work more than the 8 hours a day, or to accomplish a bit more. Where do you draw your limit? And I think this is very personal. Everyone has got and work in different ways, and has found the most efficient way to work. Some people are working very early in the morning. Some people are working late in the evening on top of their hours. Some people are just doing their hours. Sometimes you have families and you just can't do anything else than take care of the children at certain moment, and do all the household things. But things also evolve with the career and with age. I mean, I have 2 children, and of course my career when I was a postdoc or a PhD and postdoc, I didn't have children at the time, but later on when I was early career scientist, I had 2 children. Of course, life was very different because they were the priority in terms of having being able to bring them to school, to take care of them, to make sure that we were doing their homeworks with them, and that they had activities and so on. So they were really the priority. And the shift we had at that time, we didn't do much in the house. So we left the house. Basically, we start to decorate and to do a lot of the house things when they were gone from home. So when now they are studying, one has already finished studying and the other one is still a student at uni. But things evolve, and we also have more time for our relationship as a couple with my husband. We have more time also to work if we want to work, to dedicate more time to work. So things are not static. They change all the time and they evolve. And but it's the freedom of doing what you want to do during outside the work do you want to do, and to do the extra mile. I think if you do the extra mile and work a little bit more than the 8 hours, you achieve more, and usually you have a little bit more perspective. This is what I've noticed, but I would like to hear also the point of view of the other speaker.
Veronica, thank you very much, Sarah. Thank you. Great.
So if we look at the, when you say what discourages some like women to pursue leadership position is like, the starting point is that we already have a few women like that get right before the leadership position. So we just have to make sure first we have enough women, and once we have enough women in those positions and in mid management, then of course, we can hope that more women get in leadership position. I think one of the elements, despite the fact we definitely have less women in leadership positions because of underrepresentation, I think one of the elements is certainly related to the household. Unfortunately, despite some countries are more advanced on this, a lot of tasks related to the household are still on the women. So this actually can certainly be challenge for a woman to then be in a leadership position, because more time is dedicated to the household. So an equal division of tasks in the household is definitely important, but I think it's also a matter of being bolder. Like if you look at, there are definitely some clear examples of women and men being in the room, the moderator saying, oh, this is the last question, and then you'll see that women won't really raise the hands, while you will have men raising their hands and trying to ask the question. It's just like, be bolder is like the fact that it's also something that women needs to do, but at the same time there are really systemic problems. So it's not just we don't have to put the responsibility on women, but it's the systemic, because systemic changes that need to happen. Because if we look, for instance, at such a male-dominated field, like there is harassment, there is sexism. So these are also elements that, you know, if you don't feel welcome in the sector, you're more likely to get out of it rather than seeking leadership positions. So there needs to be at organizational level and also like national level some measures that prevent this from happening.
Thank you very much, Veronica, for sharing with us your insights. I have many questions from the audience, but what I will do now is that I give the floor to the next speaker and we resume with these questions later on, because I think these questions are very relevant to Christine as well, and I want to listen to her point of view. Our next speaker is Miss Christine Larkan. She's a space woman with a long and successful career in the private space sector. I remember myself in 2015-16 as a space journalist, having seen her name everywhere in LinkedIn. But unfortunately didn't have the chance at that moment to collaborate with her. She's a member of the board of directors in Luxembourg and a senior expert in satellite communication strategy and European institutions. Of course, she will share more information about her career with us. But I would like to give the floor to her and ask her to what extent the role of women in leadership within the space industry has been evolved. The floor is yours, Christine.
Thank you very much, Margarita, for your nice introductions, and thank you to you and to Nereus for inviting me to that event. So I'm really glad to be with you and with a lot of talented women, if I can hear so far. But let me start to echo words of Valentina Tereskova, who was cosmonaut and the first woman to have flown in space on a solo mission in 1963. So it's not yesterday, right? She said, "A bird cannot fly with a wing only." So if I paraphrase it, space cannot develop without women. And we have to pass that message again and again to all decision makers in space and outside of space. So your questions about the role of women, you know, when I started, I had the impression that there was very little women in the space industry, right? I was really one of the few. But there are more talented women today. And if I look and I, you know, can quote some in Europe, right? Magali Bessière was director of telecommunication at ESA. Catherine Cavada today is leading the Iris Square Secure Connectivity Project, and she led Galileo and EGNOS in the past. Elodie Viau was also, you know, leading that more recently the Directorate of Telecommunication of ESA. I can quote Arti Ola, who is now the head of UNOSA, but she started as being the Secretary General of ESOA, which I started a long time ago. And then, of course, Roya Ayazi, that I know she's listening to us. She is definitely a leader in space, as you are, Margarita. So there are more women, and we are surrounded by them today. And we're surrounded by many, many women who will become leaders. I remembered when I was 23, I was working for the European Commission, and I was sent to an event which was the launch of the second generations of satellite telecommunications of Eutelsat. I was sent in Paris to represent the European Commission and to take the floor. And my boss said to me, "If I hear of you, I will recruit you." Okay, but I can tell you, I didn't know anything about satellite telecommunications. So I went to the audience, and there was about 500 people, and only 5% were women. They were all male, right? Male-dominated room. I was 23 again, and I prepared my questions, and I dared to stand up and ask this question in the name of the European Commission. I can't remember the questions. Don't ask me what it was, but I have to admit that although I was scared, right, I realized that all the participants came to me afterwards, giving their business cards, asking questions about what the Commission was doing, etc. And I have to admit that I was very proud of myself because I dared to ask this question. And the few women who were in the rooms became my friends. And because and thanks to them, I have been successful also. They helped me to be successful in my career. But however, I looked into this and I said, well, we have more women today, right? This is obvious. But in reality, if you look into the report of the United Nations, only 22% of the workforce in the international space industry is made up of women, which is roughly the same proportion of 30 years ago. So that really strikes me by saying, okay, what have we done to change things, right? Why isn't it there are not more leaders today? Why is it so? And how can we change that? I think that what you mentioned, UN Space for Women, women in aerospace projects, all those networking is extremely important. Something that I noted with men is that they create networks. They have networks everywhere. I have a husband who is an engineer. He has thousands of people he knows, right? Just by having this networking, and he can connect and contact to any company if he wishes to. We need to have that, and we need to nurture this and really have this as, a sort of more important thing to do is to support us, each other, and support the peers to get to those leadership positions. Okay, I think that we want and we need to have those women engaging in governments and in technology companies, but that's also because, and there is something that was mentioned by Sarah up to a certain point, is that today we only have 19% of the tech workers worldwide which are being women. It's not just space, right? It's all what is technology STEM. We have not enough women starting and investing into those studies, and when they are in investing in those studies, they are not promoted. They use not to be promoted. So even if we have the rise of diversity, equity, and inclusions into those private industries, there is still significant gender disparities in tech companies. I don't know how much time I have, so what I can
just a few seconds,
Margaret.
so we can move on with the discussion. Just a few seconds.
Then I would say maybe something about my career, because I think it's important to keep that in mind before you ask the other questions. If I have been asked, when I was 9 years old or 10 years old, whether I would be in the space sector, I would never, say that's what I want to do, right? I was actually, I made studies for literature. I studied languages and Germanic languages. And if, somebody could have said to me, well, with this profile, you can become, a space actor or a space leader, I would not have believed it. So one thing which is really important in my career, right? And it took years and years or hours to explain to you how I came to that, is that I was entering into that sector by chance. This was absolutely not my sector, but I loved it. I was passionate and fascinated by that.
It's addictive.
Then, yeah, I just worked and dare to take my position every time there was a possibility for me to take it. Most obviously, I created my own jobs each time I entered a new company. So that's really something that you have different elements. And I would maybe finish by another quote by Katherine Johnson, which was it's the NASA computer mathematicians who help calculations to send astronauts to the moon, the first mission. She said, "Girls are capable of doing everything men are capable of doing. Sometimes they have more imagination than men."
Thank you very much, Christine,
You were.
for these insightful thoughts. I would like, actually, I was going to open now the discussion, but I think it's better to include in our discussion a representative from the public sector. So we will have the views from all these different sectors. So I immediately give the floor to Rosen Maresal. She's a representative from Brittany region. Brittany region is one of the Nereus member regions. And with a big space industry, a strong space sector. Rosen, it's very nice to have you here. And before I give you the floor, what I would like to highlight is that as also Christine mentioned before, Roja was one of the very few space women in the beginning, in the Brussels area at least, back in 2009. And also together with this, our management board was mostly compiled by men representatives. And now we are witnessing a positive evolution. For the first time, we have 3 space women in our management board, and Rosen is one of them. Thank you very much for your time, Rosen, for joining us today. We really appreciate that. And I will start with the first question for you. What inspired you to become a member of the management board for Nereus and to contribute to the decisions of the space of this space organization? And of course, you can share with us what are your views on challenges that women face based on our previous discussion.
Yes, thank you very much for having me here. What brought me to space, it's because I joined the delegation of Brittany region here in Brussels almost 4 years ago. And as you perfectly said it, Brittany has a big ecosystem of space companies using space, the downside part, not hardware. And so a bit by chance, you know, I'm also following other subjects like culture, which would be seen more feminine. But I also work on cybersecurity, where they also have the same issues about not having enough trained women entering the
You
careers.
need to be a very tough cookie for cybersecurity.
Well, you know, I'm a chameleon. You know, I can adapt to anything. I used to work before more for engineering sector, so I worked with people. I think it was even harder in the fact that it was really like hard industries, like pump compressors, garden machinery, things like this. So really like men, white old men. I think space sector is a lot more modern, I would say. So if I can talk here as myself and not as the region, I think your advices would be first choose your industry or know what you are entering. So I think space is quite, maybe more open than other industries I've worked before in the past. And I was writing a lot of the little things when people were talking. So I think Sarah already gave you a lot of good advice. Others, I really, what I would really want to support, and also that the previous speaker said, is really networking. I'm in a lot of networks, and when we organized afterworks of my former business school, of afterworks of my Breton network, of afterworks of my sports club, generally it's a lot of men coming to the event. I would say we have as many men and women members, especially for business schools. You know, in alumni network, it's like 50-50. But people coming to the event are men. People sending me invitation on LinkedIn to say, oh, hi, I'm a new graduate from the school. I would like to connect. Generally, it's men. I received sometime also like things like, can you help me on this? Or can you recommend me that? Men. So just like one previous speaker said before, be bold, just ask. In the worst case, people will tell you no, they will not answer, and that's it. You know, you don't risk anything. So network, ask, do your work, of course, properly. Don't overdo it, just like Sarah also said. And try also to see I would say, help transform the system. if you can, depending on your level of power. But if, for example, your company would be invited to a panel, well, if there are no women in the panel, well, then it should be a no. If they invite you, okay, go there, because at least you will be the first, one of the only women. If they want to put meetings at 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock, and there is nothing particularly urgent that would really require people to be there, okay, maybe people can do the meeting at 11, then everybody can be there. Women, men, the one doing, I don't know, whatever courses afterwards, or going for the children, or if you don't have children, going for the parents, or anything, just enjoying sports or doing nothing. So this would be the kind of analyzing the system in which you are working, and can you change it a bit depending on your power. Be very also sensitive to all the stereotypes that might be going on in the area where you are working. Like, oh, women are, I'm sure you heard it, women are really good at multitasking. Well, actually, no. Any brain is as bad as multitasking than any other brain, be it women or men. It's a really bad thing, multitasking, and it's not for women. Or women are really good at doing coffee. No, just be aware of all these little things that might, create. So then, okay, please say no. Well, no, multitasking is also for men, or multitasking is not for women only. That would be one thing. And then somebody said there are a lot of resources online. Yes, indeed, look for it. You have things on power dressing. Just also look at people like, I don't know, prime ministers, which are women, or things like the way they dress. You will see they always generally have a little thing here. They look a bit like a Soviet general. Well, it's on purpose. It's shiny. But you really have courses online on power dressing. The way you would be sitting, the way don't sit in a corner in a meeting room. A lot of things exist that you must be aware of it, because men, they will always take the good sitting chair. They will come with the right suit. They will talk louder than you, and they will cut you like man interruption. There was an example also of some women working for Barack Obama, and they had seen that this was happening. So they were supporting each other. When one was starting, a woman, and then cut by a man, then another woman would take back and say, as Sarah was saying, as Jennifer was saying, so that people would still remember it is. So a bit of sorority would be really useful. Other women are not necessarily all your enemies. Of course, there are people you like and people you don't like, but that would be it. And a lot of things really online and network and mentorship. And that's it. And I shut up.
No. I wanted to complement here. It's indeed not all men are like this. It's just that these are societal remainings. So what the society imposed centuries ago, and we still see these symptoms today. Of course, we have men that support us, and all of us, they have this kind of support one way or another. Roseanne, something, sorry, I wanted really to add something there. Do you have any more recommendations to share with us?
Well,
before we go to the discussion.
Yeah, one, two things which sounds, maybe a bit weird, but generally women tend to have, especially young one, very high-pitched voice, or they're a bit shy. So please do theater courses or go and learn to sing. Talk with a coach, also a professional one, somebody, a really good one. They're a bit like a mirror. So they might give the idea, they might bring you back the image you give, like in your attitude, in the way you talk, in the way you argument. And sometimes it's quite nice to see like, oh, you are behaving like a girl, not like a woman, which sometimes as young person, people might do.
How to stand with confidence, yes.
Yeah, assertiveness, things like this, if you're liking it. Of course, thanks God, there are some women who are really assertive, and it's good. And then sometimes they will be told that they're too bossy, but okay, that's another discussion. And that's it, I would say.
Roseanne, thank you for this vivid presentation of your view on the topic. It's really interesting to see the reaction from different sectors: private, public, international. I want to share some questions with you from the audience, and then I would like to bring into the discussion the Madalena and Natalia. Maybe if Bo is still with us, Bobby Laws.
Margarita, I just, sorry to interrupt you. I wanted to react to what
Yes.
you know, Rosen was just saying about the
Yes.
coach, right? About the way you behave. You know, that's something which helped me a lot in my life, right? I would, at some point, there was a sort of glass, you know, upon my head, and I couldn't get more higher in my company, which was at the time SES. And I took a coach, right? I really took a coach because I thought it was coming from me, right? I had this feeling that I was not doing the things well. Well, when you take a coach and you have this reflection, somebody's looking at you and gives you feedback on the way you behave, and you know, you learn, and it's not you, right? You learn that that's the male-dominated environment which is acting in such a way, and you don't know the codes of this. And because you don't know the codes and you don't understand them, you are not promoted. But I tell you, I applied what she recommended me. I will never forget. When you are in a room, look at how your colleague, male colleague, behave. Look, shut up, and just look and listen at the way they work and the way they say things. And when you do and you look at that, you would see that they don't fight against one another. They don't argue along and demonstrate they are competent. They don't do this type of thing, right? They stay sometimes silent, and it's really for a woman like me who was you know, always tempting to say, you know, you forgot to say that, or maybe you should say that, or maybe, you know, there is something that could be interesting to go further or quicker. Don't do that. And when you don't do that, you are so, you know, you can get your promotion, and I got it like this. So there are some rules maybe, and maybe in that, you know, network we could have such a you know, coach who could help us, each of us, to understand how to behave in meetings, in public, in order to be perceived, you know, by this
Seriously, yes.
More seriously, yes, indeed.
To be honest, Christine and Roseanne, I didn't have an idea. I was not aware that this kind of coaching system exists. But it means that there is a lot of need for that. Okay, Bo, sorry for interrupting you before. I would like you to ask the question yourself, because I don't really understand the question from the chat. Maybe you can pose the question to Sarah, Veronica, Christine, and Roseanne. Bo is a representative from the Space Agency in Luxembourg.
Yeah, thank you again, and my apologies, Christine, as well. I just had a question because, for example, in Luxembourg, we have organized an event which is called Astronaut for a Day, which was for kids between the age of 13 and 18 to go through a similar astronaut selection and then experience a zero-G flight at the end. And what we noticed is actually that a lot of girls, but I think this is general for women, and I've seen it in other reports as well, that there is an initial barrier for women to participate to these kinds of events. They think like, you need to be extremely smart, you need to be a rocket scientist to go into space, and they have this initial barrier to not even participate. They don't even want to be part of it. And I was just wondering how we could tackle that, because I think it's an important factor why girls and women in general do not really want to be part of it. And I think it's the initial barrier that you have to break. And I was just wondering if the women that have presented today have any advice on that, and how we could break this initial barrier.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for Veronica, Sarah, Christine,
Maybe
Rosette.
I can start because I know
Yes, yes.
Luxembourg very well, and I know, I mean, the good work that Luxembourg Space Agency is doing, you know, towards that. I think that this initiative is already a very good initiative, right? You are invited the young generations to understand the you know what space is about. I think that we need to start earlier. We need to start at the primary school, if I may say, about the way, you know, the image that the girls could have of the you know, women in space. And maybe one idea I just got now, Margarita, because I didn't thought about it today, is to publish, maybe with the United States, to publish a book of space women. Okay, so there are many books of, you know, men who are, you know, like Elon Musk and big men, you know, in space, but there are big women who made space happen, right? Whether, you know, we heard about what happened.
The uniforms of the first astronauts were shot by women, actually.
Yes,
And they didn't have the
exactly.
knowledge, the technical knowledge.
So maybe we should have some references that could be used in schools by teachers about the image, you know, changing the image of the women in space, right? There have been so many doing things, but in the backyard, right? Like the painter. We don't know about you know, women painters.
That's a very excellent idea, Christine. Veronica, you can take notes.
Yes, thank you. I'll put it on the to-do list.
On your to-do list. Very, very briefly, Sarah and Veronica, to add a comment, because then I want to introduce you, our two mentees here, and also to involve you in a discussion with them.
If I may add, like, of course, when we're talking about younger girls, there's all the part that relates to the social, cultural environment where they grow up. And so it's important that parents and teachers, schools, like, really
Exactly.
push them. One thing, like, perhaps as an organizer of this type of events, something that is important is really targeted language. So these opportunities both for women and for girls and boys, but if you actually, when you advertise that, you really make sure that it is clear that girls can participate, and you use images, for instance, of women, of girls in the advertisement, that shows that, you know, they can be involved. So this is just a practical tip that can be already used by organizations that are doing this type of activities.
Very interesting, this, Veronica. Sarah?
Yeah, I'm glad to see Bo. Bo Belos, that I know from quite a long time ago. She's been doing her PhD at SCKC, and I'm really happy to see also the path that she took, and how far she's been already at an early career age. What I would add is that there are initiatives like Green Light for Girls everywhere in the world, in fact, and they are targeting children from the age of 11 to the age of 15, because it looks like that's the moment that girls decide to drop science and technology. So there are specific initiatives to stimulate them to think differently. And another thing that is more and more developed in certain schools is also, I remember that it was done in the school of my children in particular, but it was to see how biased they are. So that was like a test about what they would like to do in the future as a career and so on, and how the perception of girls and boys and so on for different types of disciplines and jobs, and it was really striking how biased already at that age they are biased in a way that they think science is not for them, and it's quite already embedded. Whilst, bon, my daughter, for example, was the daughter of two scientists, she was still kind of she still had this type of mindset. So so there's still a lot of work to do, but the awareness of being understanding that for the child to understand that she is biased, that she should not like think, okay, this is only a job for a future career for boys, is a first step. to understand this awareness, to understand that, yeah, you yourself are already biased at an early age. That's the first stage, huh? That's the awareness. Huh?
Thank you, Sarah. I will continue the discussion, but first I would like to introduce to you Natalia Skripnikova. She's an expert in grid Arendal, and most importantly, she is one of my two mentees. I had the privilege to mentor Natalia in 2023. It was a great experience. We both learned many things from each other. And I want today to give you the floor, Natalia, to share, unfortunately, very briefly your experience, who you are, and how did you evolve through this mentorship program, the UN program. And then we can build the discussion with the rest of the audience.
Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me. Thank you
Yes.
very much for inviting me to this webinar. Yes, as Margarita mentioned, I work as an expert at Grid Arendal, which is a center collaborating with the United Nations Environment Programme in Norway. I had the pleasure to be a mentee of the Space for Women program run by UNOSA. Through the program, I met Margarita, with whom I embarked on my space journey. I think it's really important to mention that I have background in political science, which means that I hadn't been exposed to the space sector before I started working for Grid Arendal. And Grid Arendal hosts the UN-Spider Regional Office, which stands for United Nations Platform for Space-Based Information for Disaster Management and Emergency Response. The main reason why I joined Space for Women program was the need to develop my skills and better understanding of the space sector, technologies and projects in the field of environment. Currently at Grid, we are developing a portfolio on disaster risk reduction. In other words, there is a need to increase professional competence, and in my case, the Space for Women program became an excellent opportunity to do so. I think my participation in the program was very helpful. I'm going to continue working on more projects which use satellite imageries, space technologies in general, and Earth observation for environmental purposes. I would highly recommend the mentorship format, especially to promote diversity and professional exchange, which I believe enriches the space sector and also makes it more available for other fields like environment. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Natalia, for sharing with us your experience. Unfortunately, my other mentee, Danai Burnu, could not join due to a sudden event. But we are working together with Natalia and Danai on our experience, and which will be shortly sent to Veronica to be published if there is some space and time. Before I open the floor to questions, I also would like to present again Madalena. Maybe Madalena, you can shortly share your experience working with Nereus.
Yes, of course. Hi, everybody. I'm Maddalena Tobio, an intern from in the office of Veneto Region here in Brussels. And thanks to Veneto Region, who is a member and founder of Nereus, I had the chance to participate to the organization of Copernicus for Regions launch event in the European Parliament. And that's why I met Margarita and also had the opportunity to be part of the organization and witness for the first time such a big organization and management of events in the European Parliament. Veneto Region is a member of the Nereus on also Satisfaction Project, which uses Copernicus data to make urban and territorial planning. So I'm not an expert of space on space sector, at least for now, because I'm still a master's student in international affairs. but it was a very interesting experience for me to see how space sector develops also to events management, and also how it is as an environment. And thank you all for these very insightful speeches. And as a young woman, I was very intrigued by the way all about the coaching and everything else, and for all your experience, because all my career in front of me, and I'm debating a lot about my future, and it was very interesting to me to meet all of you. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Madalena. Thank you very much. You work for space. I hope we convinced you.
Okay.
Madalena and Natalia, do you have questions, or to Christine, Sarah, Rosen, and Veronica, or vice versa? Do you have questions? It's just that you represent two different stages in life. You are in the beginning.
I might have a very practical question. I met two very different experts I met here in Brussels, and it was more related to how maybe as a woman, but maybe also a young person, it's better to build a curriculum, CV, or a motivational letter to focus a lot on how you also told us before, how to perform and focus on to see my person was like very focused and was able to do the extra mile and everything else, but not to be too long and because it's very complicated to such a competitive area to be able to express yourself in a very like short and condensed way.
Sarah, Veronica, Christine, Rosen, we can.
I'm not completely sure I understood the question. Are you talking about like a pitch in elevator or elevator pitch or no?
Oh yes, but also like a curriculum vitae, like the CV, or
the CV.
Motivational letter. How do you express yourself, like in the when you have to apply somewhere or to work?
I think, well, personally, that's my opinion. I think you have to do it the way the HR wants it. You know, they expect a CV and a motivation letter. You send a CV and a motivation letter, unless if you start to be sending videos and things, unless you're applying to be the video manager of the company. I would guess that, I had a friend who used to do recruitment for years, and she said, she had, okay, it was still paper, but she had piles of CVs like this. She had less than 2 minutes to go through a CV. So, if you start with weird thing, colors and things, they would be, oh my God, unless you're applying for a very
creative side.
Creative thing. But most of the job offers are not on the market and they're not published. So that's why networking is very important.
And maybe Margarita, the shortest in a motivation letter should be short and to the point. In fact, if you look into what they're asking, right, you take all their demand, okay, and then for each of the demand, you explain why you are the best person, okay, and it should be short and to the point, really, because this is really what will attract the attention of the person who reads. I mean, that's only recommendation I can make. It's very, very hard to do, even for me, right? And I have so long years behind me. No, it's very, very difficult. It's a difficult exercise. So, but the only recommendation I can give.
And if there's a point I can add, because I thought about it afterwards.
May I add something?
Oh, sorry.
Like make sure, just be as focused as you can on that application. Tailor it. Don't just do random applications, and also really show your motivation, because recruiters receive a lot of CVs. Use the keywords and really show your passion, because as they were saying, 2 minutes per CV and motivation letter. Use the keywords and be persistent, of course, as well.
Yeah, I can only
Yes.
First, I would like to say that very often the quantity of bad CVs and bad letters that I receive is really big. So in general, I would say certainly like 2/3 are to throw away. No, they are not good. They are not good, not well written, not to the point, or not fitting with the position. So there is like really 1/3 that is kept, and then let's not forget it's competitive. So there will be other people with the same diploma, with the same grade, with same excellence than you, and you have to show the difference. What I'm looking at, because I know, yeah, if you are looking for biologists, they are in my field. I mean, they are biologists, and they are quite a lot who have the highest grade. Huh? So what? Wow, how do you make a difference? How do you really need to stand out with what you've done during your curriculum, but outside your curriculum as well? All the things that you manage, the extra courses, or the things that differentiate you from the rest of the people with the same discipline and the same diploma. I'm looking at that, to be honest. And if the letter is not up to the point, or really like you feel that the person has not spent any time in preparing that, I really I don't spend time either. So I can really, you learn to read very quickly these letters, and indeed, like mentioned, there are keywords that you see in the letters. Are they in it? Then okay, I keep it, or I throw it away, or I keep it, I throw it away. You can in fact, you 2 minutes is enough to 2 minutes is enough to make a first selection between the good and the bad one. But again, very importantly, 70% of the jobs are not advertised. So reach out, send emails. 70% are not advertised, and we say that to the students in the university where I'm teaching. It's part of the training that we give them when they for career for jobs to apply. So don't always apply only for the jobs that are advertised, but just reach out to the boss of the companies where you would like to do an internship, or just try, and not necessarily HRM, HR, and not the info at email address from the company, but look for the bosses as well.
In LinkedIn, or
Yeah.
join networks, follow webinars, see who are the key players in the sector, and approach them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Natalia,
You
do
would
you
be
have
surprised.
Natalia, do you have any question to share?
It's not a question, it's more like a comment. Thank you very much for sharing the information about these courses and tricks and tips. To be honest, I have never thought that one could be prepared that well and be aware how to behave during the meetings and presentations, taking gender perspective. Because for me, sometimes we take it for granted that people would respect each other and would be culturally sensitive and gender sensitive, but it feels like it's not always the case. And yes, I would highly support this initiative to spread this information, make it available for everyone. Yeah.
Thank you, Natalia. We have another comment in the chat. I think it comes from Stefania, and again, I noticed that it brings back the discussion to what is the challenge for women? What is the main challenge for women in trying to in getting a leadership position, actually? And Stefania, if you have a good connection, you can share your comment with us. In the meantime, I can explain, as we said, as we discussed, she notices that, hello. Yes,
Hi, hello.
here you are. Yes, maybe Stefania, you can briefly explain your comment, which is actually based on what we already discussed with the rest of the participants. And I think this is a common challenge that we identify.
Easy. If you, as the lady say, usually 70% of the high position are not put as an advertisement. So generally, people try to select who could be the person that will be in the position to higher level. Men networking by themselves, so advise one to another, that there is a high position. That is not a common action that women do first. Second, is very, very difficult that a network of men point, at least in Italy, pointing out a woman as a person that can take leadership. On the other side, of course, to perform, let's say, there is a point in your career where your family business take your effort. So you need to be supported by a man that not steal your energy, but support you in the critical time with children to allow
succeed
your
your goal.
career to going on, but say. I was going to take 1 year of activity in Estonia as an invited professor. That means that I should leave everything here in Italy and stay away for some while. If I do not have a husband or yes, that support me in this and say, okay, you can go, I take care of everything, I will simply not get this experience, and that changed a lot my career in general. So you need to have a person behind you that support you as well, because 50% is 50%. Not only your or his career is important, it's both career important. So you need to find an agreement to how to manage both things, because family and work are in the same part of your life. You need to manage both. Here in Italy as well, we need, I believe, we have good example. Let's say the first time that we have a prime minister that is a woman, we have some example right now. But again, that is not to the low level. So we need to work, because this concept, we are 50% of everything, is in any activity, in the company, in the university, in the high position ranking, in the public sector, whatever. We are not.
Stefania, thank you very much. Just to add that Stefania represents, she is the director of IEST. It's an Italian research association. It's based in Veneto region, and it's also associate member of Nereus. Christine, you wanted to add something? I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you very much, Stefania, to raise that issue, because it's a real issue, right? This is not a minor one. And I can tell you that if I was able to make the career I made, it was thanks to my husband, who took the responsibility to work with me on that, right? I told him, right, I have to, I'm making my career now. I need your support. If I don't have your support, I won't do it. And he said yes. And so without that, it would not have been possible. And I remember also one question my boss raised to me when I was traveling a lot, right? This is something that I wanted to do. So in my job, I took this responsibility. And he told me, but how are you doing, Christine? You have children. So why are you traveling so much, right? You should stop that. And so I came with an argumentation showing to him that first, I was not traveling more than my male colleagues at all. So I was not costing more than them. No, I didn't know if it was the issue, but I came with a full argumentation. And I told him, don't worry, right? I have a nice man, which is a second woman, second mother, taking care of my kids when I'm not there.
Hit under the belt. We say in Greek. Thank you, Christine. Rosen or Sarah, I think you want to say something? You have raised the hand, maybe?
Yes,
Or-
I wanted to add something from the
Can we close the discussion?
Yeah,
because
so
we
previous
are
thing,
over?
just on the CV and slash leadership, it's also interesting to look at job offers, not for now, but for in 15 years. And what do you need to develop to reach this goal? So they want to be a leader. What does that mean? So far, you have no experience in leadership. Okay, you will not maybe get it in your first job, not even your second job. but build it outside. You will see you want to be the CEO of the European Space Agency in 30 years. They will ask you to be good in finance. Okay, maybe you can start with being the treasurer of the football association where you are. All these things, you know, be the captain of whatever. But build these things outside because you might not have the possibility to build it in the place where you are.
Or this is a good point you raise. Or you might understand that by doing these activities, at the end you actually don't like it, so it will save you time to not to spend time on something that at the end you visualized it at the best and it was not interesting for you.
Exactly, and this was my second point, and last point, which is know what you want and what you don't want. Maybe you have this idea that you have to be a CEO, or you have to be that, or you have to be a mother, and you have to be. Okay, maybe you have to write also to discover when you are 30, like, well, I don't want children. I want my freedom. I don't want to be a leader. I prefer to be an expert or anything. So just also be very aware of what you want and not what people tell you you have to do. You might hear things like, oh, but you know, you should stay at home and take care of your children. And you're like, oh my God, you know, it's very boring, a baby. Yeah? You know, after 3 months, you're talking to a baby. So you might want to put it in a crèche. I mean, what we have a lot in France and Belgium. And that's it. That's your choice. That's your life. You know, that's your kind of my body, my choice. And then I would say my body, my choice, my career. And yeah, so know what you want and what you don't want. And I shut up.
No, we don't want you. It's just that we are already 15 minutes over of our time. I will just take one quote from each one of you before we close this wonderful webinar. And I'm very, very happy to have all of you together, to gather you all in this webinar, our favorite space women, and to be the last webinar also for this year. Next year we'll have new webinars, and of course you are invited. I start with you, Sarah. Something you want to share? You are muted.
Yeah, no, I thought you would take a sentence that I said. Sorry, as a tip, yeah, just reach out.
Reach out. Yeah, be active. Veronica.
Be persistent.
Yes. Fantastic combination. Active and persistent. Christine.
Dare, you know, don't stop. Go and do it because you can do it.
Excellent. Roseanne.
Network.
Thank you very much. Now this is Nereus when you say network. Natalia and Madalena, maybe your impression and how you perceived these comments from all these experienced high-level women.
For me, it was everything very interesting. Like as I told before, I'm a young woman, and I have in front of me all the time to trying to build something. And since I'm quite focused on trying to build a nice and interesting career for me, it was very interesting to collect all your tips and tricks, but also how do you arrive somewhere, how you didn't plan to do something, or for example the space sector, but you ended up there. And for me, like in this very wide sector as in international affairs, European affairs, it's interesting to see how to way through life and career path. And for me, it was very, very interesting, and I'm saying very honest way. So thank you very much for everything you said.
Natalia?
I find the discussion today very inspiring. I'm also at the beginning of my career. So I think at the beginning I was really scared when I was exposed to this sector that I didn't know anything about. But now I think I'm building up my confidence. And yes, thank you so much for all the tips and tricks that you shared. And I think the experience that you demonstrated us today proves that yes, when you believe in what you're doing, it's very much possible to achieve great results.
Thank you very much. Thanks to everybody and the audience joining us. I just noticed that we had only one man joining the discussion, Silvano. Silvano, he's working together with Stefania. And so thank you very much. Of course, our webinars, this webinar was open to all, and we will be more than happy to have men joining this kind of webinars. I would like to wish you also a very nice holiday with your family and friends, and see you in the next webinar. The date will be announced soon. Also, the follow-up of this webinar will be published in the next days. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.